Welcome to today's episode of Changemakers in Autism. I am Chantelle Walker, the CEO here at Reed, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Reed friend and my friend, Matt Ross, to talk a little bit more about his new adventure as an author of what I know is a smash hit, Grow or Fold. Matt, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I haven't had a chance to read the book yet because it's hot off the presses. I have it here. Sitting at my desk. I can't wait to dig in. But, I think if you could just take a little bit of time to introduce yourself so people know who they're talking to, that would be great.
Sure. So as a professional, I've had really two careers. I spent the first half of my career in the media business. I was in radio on the management side, and I became a senior executive with Clear Channel, a senior vice president. Along the way, that took me to stops in Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, back in New York. I was the general manager of Q1043, which is a well-known brand here, and helped build that brand and some others. And then in 2005, I made a substantial pivot. The broadcasting industry was changing. It was in free fall in some ways, like the record business. And broadband was changing everything. And a bunch of my friends and associates were going to work for Pandora, Spotify, Google, etc. And I just felt I needed to do something different. And I went to be the CEO of what was kind of a young, struggling company. Everyone knows it today, called the School of Rock. We had 5 units, burning a lot of cash, and it needed somebody who could sort of put it on its shoulders and build it. And I identified with that, and loved rock and roll and loved helping people tap into their creative side. So I did that and built that from 5 to 100 schools, 55 open and another 50 under contract, left the business, and again was at the precipice of what do I do? I'm 50 years old, and I launched a new venture called One River School. Today we are 15 locations in 6 states, and we're transforming art education. We've got a model that works, and I love it.
That's quite a trajectory. So I think, the title of this podcast, right, is Changemakers in Autism. So I would love to know a little bit more about how Grow or Fold has any tie to autism and your experience with autism.
Yeah, so front and center in my life, we got married, honeymoon baby, and different from day one. You don't know it at day one, really, but it was very clear. In our case, our son Alex was clearly autistic in utero. Something happened.
Interesting.
Yes, and we're going back now. This is 1995. We had a baby in 96, and so 95 actually. So for me, I didn't have experience with early childhood development. I just knew, and Susan knew, like, something's up here. And so the journey of raising Alex is a central part of my story as a person, as an author in Grow or Fold. And I love the fact that your podcast title is Changemakers, because there's a few pathways we can go today. How did autism change my life? What did I learn about myself to rise to the occasion to do what I needed to do? How could my story and book help people who maybe are at different stages of their life journey with children at different levels on the spectrum? So my kid turned out to be uber severely disabled, nonverbal, complex, and we'll tell that story in a little bit. So it's a central component to the book.
So talk a little bit more about that, and you you made an interesting comment at your book launch party last night about how during some of this process you've had this successful career, you've built businesses, but you've never really looked at yourself as a business, and sort of how did the lessons that you learned as a father of an autistic son, kind of, how does it all blend together for you? Because I don't think to me, when I speak to you, these are all very intertwined concepts. There's really no parsing them out.
1,000%. We had two children. It was very clear that in our world, I needed to go out and make money and provide, and my wife, Susan, had to be hands-on daily. And so we basically played a zone defense on these kids. And but sort of let me sort of stay with this piece first of all about the complexity of raising Alex in the moment in time, because here we are, 2026. When you go back almost 30 years ago, if I think about entrepreneurship, we're early innovators in autism care. What do you do? And so all we knew was what was available to us on information. And literally at 2, we started providing 30 to 40 hours a week of home ABA, and threw our whole body into this. And it depleted so much of our financial resources. And I would say our human capital was really hard, right? And we had these people who cared and were helping, but we were in Atlanta, Georgia. And we didn't have access to all the great sort of resources like a READ, autism. And it was on us. And I then got a job to come back to New York to run Q104. And it was a blessing because we needed family support. I knew that in the northern New Jersey area, there were supposedly public resources available for us. And we tapped into some of that. And, so what we were doing, I guess I was sort of like, in some respects, CEO on the strategy plan, helping to sort of figure out where should we reside and where were the funding sources and where were the tools and resources, because we were at war. It felt that way. We had seemingly lost our kid right away. Behavioral, nonverbal, sweet, but really challenged. He also had a seizure disorder and had tremendous seizures that sort of shook us to the core. And we were needing also first-rate care. When I go back and I share that story, it's almost surreal because I'm sort of a trained business leader, strategist, building businesses. And one of my strengths is just keep going, stay in motion. But in some respects, what was happening is I also felt like the boogeyman was chasing me. So what was happening is I threw everything into my career. I threw everything into just trying to do the best I could to complement what Susan did well. And fast forward at 50 years old, when my boy was 16, and this was the impetus for the book, Grow or Fold. I almost folded. I had just a compilation of catastrophic challenges. So when you asked your question about treating myself like a business, it was a novel thought because there's a leadership coach called, his name's Marshall Goldsmith, wrote a book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it realized at 50, for the first time in my life, I felt vulnerable. I was blessed with massive energy, resilience, kind of smart. And I just figured I'll just keep going forward and solve problems. But now I started to feel like I was breaking physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And it sort of led to a moment in time when Alex had a complete psychiatric breakdown. When I was 50, the big 50H. like, oh my God, I had health issues, two parents dying, two parents declining, two older brothers off the reservation with addiction. Sold the School of Rock to private equity, and they decided they wanted a new CEO a year later. I'm out of a job. And now my son is institutionalized. So that moment was just a moment for me to change makers. This was about changing myself if I was going to rise to the occasion. And, we don't do a great job in this autism community about treating ourselves gently and really leaning in on how to be our best and giving ourselves some grace. And I felt like I was failing on every level. And so this idea about treating myself like a business was a novel one. And how do I look through a different lens? I was great at strategy for all these other things, but burning myself out to the core and not focusing on this strategy and plan that would help me get to a better place over time.
I think that's such a common place for autism parents in particular to be, because the idea of folding is impossible, right? There's so many people and things that demand your time, but one person can only take so much at one time. So what is it? What is your, I guess, advice? And through learning and writing this book, how do you continue to check the boxes that just absolutely must be checked as a parent of a special needs child, but still know that life pivots, right? As a person, as an aging person, you have to pivot at different times. You have different capabilities. You and I have had these conversations before, and I think read similar books. And I don't know, what's your thought on that?
So I built a method in this book, and the book was born out of the fact that in 2018, I was having coffee, sitting by myself, and I said the strangest thing I've ever said. I feel great. I feel great. I had been at war for so long. And now I'm like reflective. My son's in a good place. I'm balanced physically, emotionally, mentally. My other child's good. Susan's good. I built a new business and brand. And what did I do? And that's when I decided, document what you did and help others. And that's what this book is about. My story is just another story. There's commonality. But the method, so here's an effect when we talked about treating stuff like a business. I think there's 5 steps in the process. First and foremost, it's about being self-aware, right? If you just run through all the stop signs forever, you might never have a chance to course correct. So it starts with taking inventory, Chantelle. What is most broken? Where do you need help? What is no longer working for you as a human? And self-awareness is at the core fixing any business. Like inventory. We have to get unemotional, and we do in business. It's objective, right? Sure, there's subjectivity, but the numbers don't lie. You kind of get good feedback. We don't do that for ourselves. So taking personal responsibility is the second piece. After you've documented what's most broken, what needs urgent and important care, then it's on you to sort of figure out a plan. I'm blessed with strategic sense. Other folks need help. Who can I lean on to help me build a plan? And that vulnerability that comes with sort of like being self-aware and asking for help may be the hardest thing for people. I am I'm a strange bird. I'm an open book, always have been. But I never asked anyone for help because I always relied on my own intuition, but I never applied that strategic skill set to myself. So here I was now building a plan and a vision plan for myself and trying to really build a step-by-step vision plan for what I needed to do differently, what outcomes I wanted that were non-negotiable, and how was I going to build a plan to get there. And we do this all the time in business. So for me, so then if you think about self-awareness, taking personal responsibility, you know what? Change is really hard though. It had me also not just looking at a plan for Alex and a plan to fix my career. What did I want to do now that I'm out of a job? But what did I need to change about me? The most vulnerable part of all. Who was I? What was working well? And what needed to be different? I was a power cat, impulsive, probably angry for all the right reasons. I was having health issues. I couldn't sleep. I was worried, living in fear. My son was institutionalized in Chantelle. He pulled the hair out of his head before we finally got him to psychiatric center in Westchester. 16-year-old boy just trying to get people to understand him in the middle of puberty, right? With no voice. And in a supine hold for 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. So heartbreaking. So we leave him that night and it's just like, is this it? Is this what my life's going to be? And I'm like, am I going to fold? No, I'm going to grow. So I went and found great therapists. I went and started working on my personal health. I wanted to understand how to avoid, strange as it sounds, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, because that was deeply rooted in my family. And I figured I'm vulnerable to neurodegenerative diseases. To what degree does the environment and my behavior impact that? Stress, inflammation, and there's a lot of data and information. I needed to deal with this issue of having familial dysfunction and addiction. Being the younger brother of three, I was always the caregiver. Whenever they would call, I had to help. And if I didn't help, they yelled at me. And one was suicidal. And it was just overwhelming. The last piece, so this therapist in New York who gave me tough love and it really worked. She said, Matt, you know everyone in your world is disabled. And if you don't change, you won't be here.
Mm-hmm. It's the whole put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help.
Beautifully said.
Everybody else, right?
Beautifully said. So I actually needed to prioritize my health, wellness, mental health to rebuild my sensibility on how to be there again for everyone, but to be there for me. And it's emotional because, like most people don't know what you're dealing with. I'm the positive guy in the room. I'm the high energy guy. I'm the guy who's giving love to everyone. So I'm not stopping people and going, do you know, I haven't slept well in about 3 months and I'm breaking. Never said it to anybody. They just saw my happy face and I'm just the dad with a complex kid and out of work. I'm not telling them about my brothers and my parents and anything.
Right. You're like the iceberg.
Change is hard, but not changing is worse. So how do you marshal the resources? And so I'm going out and speaking. I've got some great talks coming up.
Let's talk about those.
One is at just so proud of this one, the 92nd Street Y.
Incredible.
And I looked down recently on their website, and they've got Oprah, Bradley Cooper, Michael Douglas, you name it, Malcolm Gladwell, and little Maddie Ross. I still look at myself that way.
I love it.
And I'm just a kid from Queens who's figured some stuff out, figured myself out, and took the time to write a book to help people. So I'm in conversation with Ken Dashow in Q1043, one of the world great DJs. And that's on Feb 1, Sunday afternoon. Everyone's going to get a free book if they come.
Great.
And then what do I do to add even more to my plate as a new author? We've got an event in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay.
Feb 19 on a Thursday night at the Bergen Pack, where I used to be a board member, and I love what they do. And they asked me to come and do a book talk. and this is going to be different. It's going to be also an interactive conversation. I got some tricks up my sleeve to getting people thinking differently. I'm not Tony Robbins. Let's get that straight.
Okay.
But I
All
can
right. Keep an
I think I might
expectation.
be able to just get the wheels turning and have some fun as I get people thinking about their own personal place, where they are and where they want to get to. That's the greatest question of all. Where are you? Where do you want to get to? What's that gap in between? Sound
And
familiar,
Matt, I think
CEO?
yeah, that's right. And I think it's so great, Matt, that you've really leaned into, your friends in the autism community, and this is a tool that you're hoping parents can really use too as they contemplate their future and their child's future. And I know you're going to have a really nice audience at both locations, but certainly at the Bergen Pack. Reed will be there in force. So thank you for the opportunity. And do you have a website? Do you have a Grow or Fold
I
website?
do, and I want to just share one last thought, because
Oh,
for
please.
this community, we used to talk about this as a spectrum disorder. Now is a neurodivergent. And sometimes we get lost in the acronyms and the descriptions. And what I want to do is I really want people to just think, am I building the greatest practical plan for my child, given where they are? What are the resources?
So important.
What are the resources available to them? How they might change over time, and how I might change. Every single day of my life when we were raising Alex, I lived in fear because Alex needed critical care. And he's in the Read Next program, we know that. And I never could sleep well if I didn't have a plan that if Susan and I passed away, what would happen? There are other folks who may not worry because their children have greater capacity for independence. So what's the great plan? What's the plan to optimize their pure potential? And how do you tap into all the appropriate resources and remain open and still also focus on your own personal plan for yourself over time? Because we all get stuck in the 24/7 myriad of challenges of being autism parents, but we're also humans with one life to live. So treat yourself like a business, but also be kind and gentle to yourself.
That's a great way to end, Matt. That's a really good message. Thanks
And
for
my
that.
website is mattross.com.
Okay.
They can find more information about me and my journey. The book is available online at all major retailers. Thank you for having me. I love what you do.
We wish you so much success. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.